is Steven.
Boy.
I play PS4. I go by Nifty Nickel.
Jesus, kid, don't call out your PSN. Nobody wants that.
Yo, follow me on PSN. I won't add you.
And I'm Chandler, Steven's brother. Steak Addict on PSN. Add that up. Don't add Nifty Nickel.
You know what I do like about Fault? One thing I found, and like supports are always going to be behind. You know what I mean? In like everything. But I find that in this game, they're less behind.
Everyone wants to do that, do they? Steve, you got this first, or do you want me to take it?
You go ahead.
Yeah. So me and Greg know each other from high school. So I mean, that's a thing. It's been a minute or two since then, but was it 15? Jesus. Yeah. God damn it. That was the one, wasn't it? Yeah. I still don't understand how that kid was ever in any of the classes we were in. To this day. That's what I'm getting at. Like, this kid was in, like, the entire French humor thing, like, doing, like, decent classes. Like, there's a lot of high school students that'll take just absolute joke classes. And you understand they're not taking it serious. But he was taking, like, actual classes and, like, passing with, like, 1%.
Priorities.
He used to do a lot of things.
Shout out Nathaniel.
Tune into the stream, bro. I swear to God, I seen him like 2 years ago. I think he's still living at that same house there off of First Lake. I mean, that sort of makes sense why you had the drug problem. Yeah.
Hey, you baby girl. Yeah,
This
man,
is true.
pretty much, bodies. I'm my own person. And a little fatter than
What?
him. Yeah. We watched The Matrix?
Yes. You were showing them.
Fuck
That was
do
you
you
going
remember
through your
this?
phase. That's the only thing you were watching.
Really?
Over and over and over again. Because I started bringing people over to the house because I was finally talking to people in high school. And
Yeah.
every time I brought a new friend over, you showed them The Matrix.
Really?
Yes.
Why don't I remember that? Like, I believe you, but that sounds like some shit I'd do. Scott Pilgrim. Fuck yeah, classic film.
Classics, yeah.
Yeah, Greg and I, we We have our own past. A lot of it involves um, improv. We were when he was in grade 12 and I was in grade 10. We both tried out for the improv team at our high school, and we both got on, and that was kind of cool. And we developed our own kind of friendship outside of the three of us. That was a lot more focused around uh, what I, in my young adult years, now refer to as artistic lying. Um, and we were always a lot more close than with the people actually in charge of it, because the people in charge of it were problematic. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, you were pretty well living with us. Looking back at your guys' improv experience, it's almost poetic because it fizzled out the same way Paragon did, where it was so good at the beginning and then stuff kept changing,
yeah, shit
just
no
to kind
one
of keep it
wanted.
sort of on topic. Just like
Yeah, holy shit.
when you keep trying to add things and add, you're the underdog and you want to make it big,
Yeah, it was
but you're
like,
so worried about
yeah,
what it looks like, and
yeah.
you're no longer worried about how people actually feel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was always the thing with Paragon, right? It was like the audience and the player base, they knew what they wanted and they knew what was fun, and we fucking said to them. I still remembered those fucking community videos of what's his name, KL, and then the guy with the that sat in the middle that looked really he was like a little like real pretty nice guy. And then Omega Beta Man on the far right, Cameron, I think his name was, who had the socks. And the three of them, they represented a unity, you know what I mean? But in those community videos, I always remembered them like having like these community corners where they would take questions from the community, and a lot of the time the questions would be, why did you change this? Why would you, this isn't fun? And that motherfucker on the far end, the lead hero designer, would say every time, yeah, last time I checked, we're making the game, we can see the stats, we can see the data, and now you're telling us that it's bad, but when the data says literally this is the best thing to do, I don't know what you want us to do. And then KL will just like look at the camera and be like, let's take another question.
Yeah, it's the one dude that knows it's all just a sham, but he's just trying to keep a job.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah,
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They wanted to kill it.
Yeah,
And to an extent, that's what Paragon became, was
it became
just a big,
yeah.
and like, okay, so that was probably, as somebody who, because you guys definitely took Paragon a lot more serious than I did. Like, it was always, and for me, just even to this day, video games have always just been a video game to me. It's been extremely hard to get into any type of competitive scene with any video game. But
I mean,
what
for
kept
God's
me
sake, you
playing was
always
just
yeah.
how beautiful it was. It didn't matter that it was like an almost $30 skin. Guess what? I was buying it. And that's what's insane. Like, you take a person that has no actual desire to like actually be super competitive, because you would assume that's what, like, it's really the hardcore fanatics are the ones that are trying to like spend the money in the game. But for a game that was in beta and beta alone, I probably put in, before that game was terminated, over $500 of my own money into it to never see it again, with the assumption that the game again was no.
Yeah, I didn't get mine back either.
Yeah. Well, because the big fuck around was through PSN.
Yeah.
That was the problem. So anyone who did it through PC and like bought the packs online, like on their computer and not through the PlayStation Store, it's super easy. But from what I hear, I don't have a confirmation of this, but from what I hear, it was just hard for them to get the money back from PlayStation, and just the logistics of it didn't, like, it was hard for them to actually manage to do that. Yeah, but it's a lot of money and a lot of time at the end of the day.
Yeah. I felt like Paragon was like it kind of had become a part of my life, and like how you hate, I don't know, how your nose looks or you hate your job, like there are aspects of your life that you fucking hate, but Paragon was always special because it was something that, I know I gotta grind. I know I gotta work hard at this. And, there's a lot of games I always played that, I knew that I'd have to grind at it. And I would just, at a certain point be like, fuck it. I'm not going to do it anymore. But Paragon was always different because I'd never played another game like it. I, I'd played MOBAs. I'd hated a lot of MOBAs, but this was my favorite MOBA of all time. It was unlike anything I'd ever played before. And so the way that Epic Games sort of treated it, as they got rid of this passion project to fucking like substantiate the like short-term boner that is Fortnite just to make a fuck ton of money. It was just like, I mean, as an artist, it just was like a spit in the face of like, I don't know, artistic creativity. Yeah.
I think we all do. Because we're attached to a sinking ship.
We like our Chinese overlords. We're kind to them, and they're kind to us. We mean no offense. Tencent, please don't make Corona too. Yes. And we're completely scared of you.
Don't hurt me. By no means, no.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really just how the game felt, because if you think about it, so I got into Paragon right off the heels of Smite. I don't know if any of you guys really played much of Smite,
I
but
played.
especially back in the day when, like, before Paragon was really a thing, I played Smite, and, like, just going to that Unreal Engine and playing a game that smooth, it didn't really matter if you were good at it. You wanted to play the game purely based on how good it looked, because it was impossible to believe it actually looked that good.
Mhm.
Well, especially the fact that you can go back and replay any single one of your games, and you can go to any point of the map in a still frame, and it would look like it was like CGI. Like it was
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful
The
what you could do
replays.
with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, more of a single player kind of guy, but I really got into the player of Paragon. It's got a love for
So
good
here's the
content.
thing. Here's the thing. That Paragon was that good that I kid you not, I used to sit there and play bot matches. Literally just me and a lobby full of bots for like 4 to 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Steven, you didn't really hear this earlier. Me and Greg were kind of mulling this over, so I'd just like to get your take on this. So, have you seen much of the game mechanics of Fault so far?
I haven't looked into it too much, but I majority of what I've seen is from Greg's streams and his
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
videos.
So, what I was thinking with these Elder Raptors, just as like an alternative benefit to them, just because, like again, like Greg said, after 30 minutes, your max build. Why in the world are you going to go to Raptor? So, you sort of, with any good game, especially one that involves some amount of skill that you want to make competitive, you have to have choices and sort of split decision choices that kind of like make the bigger plays. So what I was thinking is, just because obviously you're going to have different builds, whether you're a tank or you're jungler and whatnot, what would happen if, let's just say, part of one of your like top tier legendary items for a jungler gave you a buff, like for a certain period of time after you killed a raptor? Because again, you're only going to have that item there late game anyway.
Hmm.
But now, instead of just being forced, like, because you spent the entire first half of the game just sitting in jungle and ganking every once in a while, now you have the option to pay. Instead of pushing lane with everyone else, I'm going to go quickly over grab Raptor because I'm going to get such and such a boost. And not only do you get that boost from
Yeah.
that item, but let's say it has a passive. So now all of a sudden you're in lane with somebody. Now, even though let's say you have an attack buff, you don't necessarily pass that attack buff on, but you attach like attack speed or something like that, or move speed, depending on, let's say there's different types of raptors or whatever they end up deciding to do. But like just having that second layer of verticality to the game, just being able to go a little bit deeper and have a little more strategy.
I like that because it definitely because what you're going to need is a reason to complete that objective, and just like with a game like Paragon or Fault in this case, games are obviously going to be long. I'm pretty sure what games go for. How long does a game usually go in Fault? Typically, like 40. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, like most games that go for a while, a lot of the time you're going to get to a point where everyone is super strong, and it's essentially the exact same as the beginning of the game where everyone was super weak, but everyone had essentially the same power level, the same amount of abilities, and no cards. So if everyone is super strong, you're going to want to be able to achieve some kind of buff that the first thing I go for is maybe something that you actually have to build all game. What if there was an item that you could buy or some kind of setting? I don't know what it would be like, but what if it was you needed to kill a certain amount of raptors? So you could put that on your carry or even your jungle, or maybe it's some kind of item like that at a certain point after you've killed a certain amount of raptors, it gives you like a permanent buff even if you like sell the item or something like that. Like or like let's say you need to get this many kills on ranged heroes. You need to get this many kills on melee heroes, and it's like it would be ways for you to counterplay against certain teams. And maybe there's an item that if you get, this many jungle minion kills, you'll get another buff. And it's that idea of encouraging players to find other uses for completing these objectives without, the only thing that you're actually benefiting from is I'm just gonna say like CXP, or the gold or stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And because then at that point, for a game like Fault, there isn't just damage values. There isn't just currency values. There's a third very, very important value that you don't get in games like Call of Duty, and that's time. So how you spend your time, as well as how much time it takes for you to get from one spot to the other. It's something that a lot of people I don't think really consider. But if you aren't in the right spot at the right time with the right gear, with the right move, hitting the right character, it can be the difference between you winning and losing. So if you're creating, like, if you give raptors or something like other buffs or minions or certain kills and even other things on the map, more than just currency and stat bonuses, but also it'll benefit your time. There's I'm not just getting money from this. The fact that I'm killing these enemies over and over, I'm completing these objectives over and over.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of uh, I always love a chance to bring up Bloodborne. There's this concept of there's the currency of insight. Trust me, it'll make sense.
Yeah, no, I
It's
see where
just
you're going with it.
it's just a game mechanic because there are two sets of in that game. So insight is this it's a currency that you can spend to get certain items. And you can consume items to get more insight, and that's what a lot of players refer to as consumable insight. But then there's also story insight, which is based on completing certain tasks in the game that actually progress the story, and it actually increases the insight of your character, but it's not a scene value. And it's that concept of things that you're doing isn't actually manifesting as resources for you to allocate. It's simply just a reward for how you spent your time. And I think that could add another depth to longer games. Okay, how were you doing? Were you actually letting your carry get last hits?
Were you staying in lane?
Were you staying in lane? Maybe there's a thing that if the more you're in lane, you get these buffs. And it's that idea of, okay, how can we manipulate time? Because we've all had those games where you were like 40 minutes in because both teams are perfectly matched, and the only way you lose is because you're so fucking bored or annoyed that, I don't know, Belica keeps one-shotting you, but then Sevarog comes in and one-shots her. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and that's what I was talking to Greg about when I was even talking about making an item that gives you a buff based on Raptors. The mindset is that, like, you need some ability to come back. Like, when all your towers are down and they've been, like, knocking your core a little bit, like, you need some reason to keep playing the game rather than, again, like, I can't count how many times I was playing Paragon, and you're, let's say, 55 minutes into a game, and the only reason that you lose because everyone on your team decided they wanted to quit. You're the only person left because, again, it's 55 playing this one match. You still want to play, but you lose because everyone's fed up with it at this point. It's not fun.
yeah. Yeah. Did you like what I said, or what Chandler said? Yeah, story insight. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. There needs to be bigger fruits for your labor.
And that was the other biggest thing, is like giving you every reason. Like I mean, I've heard on stream Greg talking about this before, but you want to play a game like it's what I would call the Overwatch effect. You want whatever hero you are playing to feel overpowered, but not only not only do you want the actual player and like between their abilities and their passes and whatnot to make them overpowered. The feeling of a properly kitted character as well was the other big thing to me. Now all of a sudden, the biggest thing that I'd say that Paragon did wrong was, okay, people start going, okay, yeah, we'll use an items buff, but obviously, like, how do you balance that? Paragon's way of balancing it was to make everyone weaker. Not once did they ever take the approach of, hey, how about instead of making everyone weaker, how about we just make everyone stronger? No. Hell yeah. Well, that was the other problem with Paragon, is that every single time they put out a new character, it broke the meta.
Yeah. Don't remind me.
Destroyed it. But you're learning a new game every 3 weeks. Who wants to do that?
Obviously, us.
Yeah,
Let's
but
be
okay, but
honest.
that ended up being the death of the game. Because again, it's us. We were the ones that had the ability to go and do that. But that's not how you make a game for the masses. That's not how you. That's how you want to be able to do that. To again, your competitive scene, to make them adapt and whatnot. You don't want your average player base, again, somebody like me who's not even playing competitive, who I don't think I ever played a ranked match once, to make me learn a brand new game every single time I had the spare time to play the game. Because again, I wasn't even playing it every single day. If
Don't get
I'm
me
only
wrong, I'm
playing
on your
once every
side.
week or two, now all of a sudden you've played a total of, let's say, 4 hours. Now you're learning a completely different game. And on the top of that, they were switching game mechanics. Not only were they switching the meta with the characters, but switching game mechanics on top of it. It's sort of like when you have something that isn't broken, why break it?
Yeah. Don't get me started on when Chandler. Okay, when Chandler and I went to visit Greg, the
Oh, that was
very
so much
first
fun. That's the
fucking
best
day,
time.
and then I still have it on video of Greg playing his first his first few games, and then I just say to him, "So, what do you think?" And there's a pause, and he's like, "It's all right." I still remember that because it was just all right, and it felt like they changed so much shit that like what was wrong with the game before? And then that motherfucker Cameron roll up was like, well, y'all are just stupid. We got the numbers, okay? You don't know, you don't see what we see. And I was like, you motherfucker, I know what fun is. I know what is and isn't fun, and this shit isn't fun, and it doesn't make me want to buy anything from you anymore. So like, I don't know what fucking numbers you're looking at. So you know what numbers they were probably fucking. Okay, now I'm gonna start going on like conspiracy theory. But I think they were looking at the numbers of like, shit, we're making a cool game, but like, we ain't gonna make a lot of money. And that grinds my gears to the dust. Because like, they're like, yeah, we need to make people. I don't know. I just say, anyways, I just. Mm-mm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, basically whatever your river buff would have been. Just times 2, let's say. Another interesting concept would be like, let's say again with these Elder Raptors, you're saying 30 minutes in, so the mindset would be at that point, even though, let's say, your jungler or whatnot, they definitely have a lot of attack power and whatnot, and typically a regular Raptor, they'd be able to come in, 2, 3 hits, bang, done, dead, but you almost make it where you have to bring somebody who's just completely tanked out to come in to take those hits, or else you will not be able to kill it. So, I got a question for you, Greg. Just with, obviously, you've had a lot of time with Fault here now. Uh, in your opinion, would it be, would you see any benefit in, let's say, making the buff from Prime more powerful but not last as long?
I real quick, I had to step out for a second. I just had to talk to someone. Um, yeah. In case you were asking me something.
Nope, nope.
Okay, cool. Don't mind me.
Yeah, just because I remember seeing a couple times watching your stream, let's say a team goes in and gets Prime, so you've spent all that time getting Prime. Now all of a sudden everyone's low health, and the other team comes in and just wipes you, and you completely lose Prime. So would it be beneficial to make it extremely dangerous for the opposing team to come in if you almost have Prime, with a chance that you may just get it, and let's say you get the bigger buff but doesn't last as long, you completely wipe them, and then you get a tower or two. Yeah, so that's what I mean. So if you're all of a sudden, if you're going to bring another buff into the game with these Elder Raptors, that's again the only response you have to the other team getting Prime. Should the Raptors be able to completely defend you from the other team having Prime, or should Prime trump Elder Raptors every time? Because obviously, like, it'll give you a fighting chance, but let's say, like, again, if there's only one Elder Raptor, let's say there's only one of those, you can only get the one buff. And let's say it's only for the person who kills the Raptor. And let's say even just for the sake of it, you have all three Raptors up, you get three people on your team with that buff. Is that going to be enough? Like, I don't see it ever being enough to counter Prime, but I just don't know the state of Prime right now because I haven't played Fault myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that'd be the only appealing part over it. And you would pretty well, I mean, if both teams know one Elder Raptor comes in, let's say, half an hour, you know everyone's going to it because, again, if you've been playing the game, you can kind of tell at that point, half an hour in, it's pretty easy to tell if it's going to be, like, even gameplay. It's not like you've just been completely getting railed for a half an hour straight. Just being able to know, hey, you know what? This is the only way we're getting ahead because we don't have enough power to go get Prime yet for whatever reason at half an hour, but this might be what sets us over.
Yeah. I think the concept of keeping that large raptor buff to a one-person thing, I think that's a really good idea.
Well, you have to. You would know. There's no way you can go one person, go take a raptor, and you get everyone a permanent boost.
Yeah.
Talk about breaking a game, killing
but
player
but
base.
what if they made it a thing? What do you guys think about this? What if, let's say, your team kills Prime, and it's just to try and make this easy to understand. It gives your whole team a 100% status boost. Okay, but what if the ultimate Raptor that only buffs the one person gives a 150% status boost? So it's stronger than Prime, but it's one of those things where one-on-one, that person who got the Raptor buff is going to be stronger in the one-on-one fights. But it's that thing that if you have Prime and you're actually coordinating as a team, so it rewards the fact that you got Prime, the sum of the multiple people that have the Prime buff could beat the Raptor buff. And so it would encourage, like, okay, so what if we give it to the jungler that might have more mobility and can, like, pick off people with Prime one-on-one? What about that concept? About
Did
having the
Paragon
Raptor
ever have
stronger
team
than
chat? Like actual voice chat?
No.
Because I think that's
No, we were
going
always-
forward. That's going to be the absolute most crucial part to whatever. Like, if they want to have any sort of like deeper verticality of this game, like that we're talking about, to be able to have a full team, because the amount of opportunity you're going to have a full lobby of people who you're on, let's say, Discord with, it's not going to happen. And
Yeah.
even if, let's say, you're on PC, I mean, it's impossible, first of all, to do it on controller, because the only time you get to talk to your team is when you die and you're sent back to core. And you're typing as fast as you goddamn can with that controller. But
I always had the
think they
keyboard
pretty
attachment.
well have to have some type of team chat.
Yeah. Do you feel like if there was like a team chat, then like the idea that I brought up, do you think, because I feel like if you start playing with numbers, and the potency of buffs,
Yeah.
and also the fact that Prime affects the team, 100%, but then Raptor would affect one person 150%.
And again, I mean, I guess that buff would have to depend on how often it happens and what happens when the same person gets more than one Raptor.
What if there was a specific buff that only popped up once Prime dies? So you could have
But you get a charged up Raptor or something fucked like that. Raptor with a laser.
Hmm.
So you can go kill Prime and then cross the map and go get the Raptor.
But think of it like this. What if it was one of those things that now it would mostly just be in like a context thing because it would allow for planning. But like, what if Prime was so strong that, you know, arguably, unless your team is super coordinated, you would probably need like at least 4 people. But if you were able to kill it with less people, you could have 1 or 2 people over at the Raptor ready to get that buff. But it's that idea that you would need your whole team immobilized at these 2 things in the center, leaving the lanes completely free. And so it's that idea of, okay, how strong are we? How quick can we kill these things? Because that's that other thing. Remember, I was talking currency, power, and then time, right? When we get these buffs, are we going to, do you know what I mean? And so it just makes it in my head, because if the enemy team knows that our team is getting Prime, they might say, okay, let's just push the fuck out of the lanes, or let's try and go kill Prime, or let's go and get over to that Raptor buff. And then who goes to it? Who stays in the lanes? And all this kind of stuff. And I think like it makes the map a lot more alive and breathing almost. That was always a thing that when Infamous for the PS3 came out a long time ago, that was always one of the things that really stood out to me. Was like in their marketing campaign, they always talked about how the city in that game was alive and breathing, and it's the fact that stuff would happen. Things would happen based on other things you would do. There were certain benefits to being in certain places on the map at certain times, and it even kind of relates to think about games like MMOs, like even like Final Fantasy 14 or Chandler, if you remember. With Destiny 2, remember we were trying to get that one sniper rifle that you had to be on Titan or IO, and you had to be in a certain spot, kill a certain enemy, and then get to a certain place in a certain amount of time in order to even be able to do the quest.
Yeah, it forced you to know about the game, not just have it handed to you.
And I feel like those sort of things could add a lot of diversity and depth. But what if there was, I don't know, and then you start having to worry about like, okay, if the game is getting too complicated, then you could just get completely steamrolled unless you know everything. So what if there were like, but then you'd start thinking like,
well, okay, that's the benefit of team chat. You're able to, if somebody doesn't know what they're doing or they're talking to you, like, oh, what should I be doing now? Like, because you'd be able to, let's say, tell in the lobby what everyone's like player level is.
Yeah.
How many wins they have, how many losses, blah, blah, blah. You can tell if you're just playing with a more skilled player.
And you know what that makes me think about? It makes me think about the biggest problem that I think Paragon had. There was no good way to learn how to play a MOBA in that game. There was no good training.
They put training in and it sucked.
One lane and it just taught you kill the tower. Like there wasn't ward placement, there wasn't team comp, there wasn't how to build your specific character. So I feel like if they would double down on adding all these Radiant map-based events and whatnot, they would need to have a much more thorough and like comprehensive, I guess, training. Because if you make the game too epic and too badass and super deep, it's gonna make it very inaccessible. And I feel like there's no point in putting a lot of effort into all these really cool things in a map and in a game and with all these mechanics if you're just going to make a secondary game mode that doesn't have that. I feel like, whatever they do with the Ultimate Raptors would have to be like that's just an aspect of the game. And how do you balance not sacrificing the competitive nature of the game while also not making it like StarCraft 2, where you need to speak 6 languages and no binary in order to play it? You know what I mean? Like,
To your point of the map even just being alive, I can't get this thought out of my head personally. But I think just hear me out. With the thought of team chat, so let's say just by default you have a mic on, you're just talking to your team, whatever, blah blah blah. But what if they took it one step further, and you can press and hold, and now you have proximity chat. Now you're the jungler, and you proximity chat. You say, "I'm coming for that booty,"
or
and you just scare the shit out of someone. They're like, "Where the fuck is this guy?"
start playing the Saw theme.
Oh my god, I love that right at the beginning. Just or some type of camaraderie. You can go in. You can right at the beginning before the you've even spawned. You just be like, "Hey guys, this is a fun game. Having fun trying out this character."
I'm
blah,
high
blah.
as shit. I'm sorry. I'm not playing right. Please don't spam good job when I stay out of lane for 3 minutes.
Because that was the other thing when you were stuck with like just that little round thing to like put callouts, and the good job one.
The amount of time.
Because you had no way of talking to your team, you had no way of voicing your frustration, and all you had was click, 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 click.
Whenever my coworkers said I was doing a good job at work, I got PTSD. They're like, "Good job." I was like, "Fuck you, you piece of shit." I'm
because it
working
no
my ass
longer
off.
meant what the developers wanted it to mean.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the best. That was the whole point of playing. Oh my god,
those
it was the
8-year-olds that
best.
got caught for Christmas. Yes.
Well, and how do you organize? You're in a pregame lobby. You just meet these random people. How are you going to type in and say, "Hey, add me on Discord so we can talk"?
I mean, if there's a text chat box, you could just drop the Discord link. Hey, I have a Discord link. But then if like 3 dudes are like, join my
Yeah,
Discord.
everyone wants you to join their Discord.
You can't really do that on PC very easy. It would have to be in-game chat.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things I wanted them to have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
I mean, yeah.
Hmm. It'd be cool. They start getting evolution in Fault. Darwin. and Selective. Oh, Agumon. No, what's that selective what natural selection when you kill a raptor. You start getting philosophical in Fault. Yeah. On a side note, just looking at this gameplay here, I noticed earlier, uh, Narbash did his ult, and after he hit the drum for the last time, he wasn't stuck in place, or he didn't get slow. He like was moving at the same speed. Good on you, Strange Matter. That shit was weird that Epic had that. It fucking you launch them and root yourself. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, yeah, like I mean, because I think Narbash needed that. Now, don't get me wrong. I say that in the sense of I think Narbash is a great character, but I think he needed more um, little little things like that that just makes him 400% better. Because like when you're thinking about characters like Muriel, you're thinking about characters like Decker that have so many awesome benefits, and then you think about Narbash that when he uses his ult, I mean, yeah, everyone around him can't move, but he can't move either. So like your teammates can get away, but you're not with them. You can't be, and you have to be near them to be healing them, to be giving them the speed buff. Um, so the fact that they took away the option to like keep moving to like get any benefit from that ult, I think was strange. And I don't know. I think it's just little things that like that I think that I think Strange Matter is doing really good. Is these things that I didn't know I hated in Paragon until I saw them not in this new version, and I'm like, wow, that just seems smart. And
Yeah,
I think
from what it sounds like, they're doing what Epic said that they would do by listening to the community. Now, I mean that's what it really comes down to. It's again like, as much as you want to get on your high horse and say, well, I'm the one that developed it, I should know what's best. Like, if the people you're designing the game for are not having fun and they care enough, because that's the other thing. Like, you can have no fun with a game and you just stop playing the game. It's that simple. You just log off, you delete it, whatever. But you're making a game that unfun that you're having people go out of their way to let you know how bad it is. That's when you know you actually have to make a change. And I think that was the biggest thing that crippled Epic with Paragon, was that like, if people tell you something is wrong, it's 100% wrong.
Hmm.
At least needs to be like looked at, reworked, even if it's to like 2% of a difference on the damage of a character that everyone's saying is just way too overpowered. Just lower their total output by like 1-2%, just enough to make a difference, not enough to like make it game breaking. Because that was the other problem. Epic would finally change somebody who's overpowered and make them
just
unplayable.
yeah, make them
You
unplayable.
would take the character that broke the meta and then go, yeah, sorry, that, you actually don't play that character.
And then just like release Moragesh very casually and just like, oh, this is fine. Just release Revenant. No, this is fine. Don't get me fucking started on Aurora
I will say,
again.
I will
don't want
say-
to pop another blood vessel.
Revenant was one of the few heroes that they released that finally felt like it was adding something to the game. Because really, when he came out, he wasn't overpowered by any means, but just like
They
going
made
into
him
that little
overpowered,
nether
yeah.
realm
Yeah.
just made it like, again, like you were saying with the living map,
Yeah.
it added something to it. Just the thought, like, there's something that adds some amount of lore to the game that this even exists.
Yeah. I think definitely that's how you sustain these kinds of games, when it's the exact same fucking thing over and over again. And that's why we love it, but it's the same thing over and over, but like there are certain aspects that change because you're playing the game. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I think the other biggest thing, especially with a game like this, and it's something that, like, way back in the day when I used to play League, it was one of the things that benefited it was, like, character selection. Like, having a massive library. Like, you can't release a game like this, and I understand right now they only have a limited library of characters, but when you only have, let's say, 15 characters to choose from, no matter what, it's going to be very easy to pick the optimal character fit.
Yeah.
Now, you all of a sudden, you have an option between 40 of them, no matter what, just the amount of team comps. There's never going to be just one clear-cut team comp, you have to do this. It's, you have 3 characters who can play almost the exact same role, but let's say one character, if you're a player that just has really good natural aim, you can just absolutely slay with this character because all their abilities are extremely hard to hit, but if you do hit them, then it deals massive damage. But then you have another character that can do the exact same thing, but it's purely just based on buffs and how you build a character and just time and just being right place, right time.
Yeah.
But again, they're both in the same team comp. You swap
Yeah.
them out, but it's purely based. The player limits the character rather than the character limiting the player.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, I'm seeing it. There's also the concept of Chandler and I play this mobile game called Grand Summoners, and there's a tier list for characters because it is similar to it's an anime game, so they have a large collection of heroes and units that you can choose, and you create like a 4-person party. And there is a tier list of S tier and SS tier characters, but then there's like A tier characters that aren't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's that idea that certain characters are better and some are actually playable at all only if you're using another character. It's that idea of, if you make a character with an obvious weakness, you're allowed to do that because you can, if you have a ton of other characters that have the same type of ability, you can create more diverse, interesting parties that are a bit more experimental, that the weakness of these specific characters can be supplemented because of another character that maybe doesn't get played that much. And it's that idea of synchronizing and having a bit of synergy. And I think that's something that, I mean, in a game like this, you need to have, when you're going to have so many characters, you need all the characters to be played. You need to have that presence, and you need to be letting people feel like, oh, I can only play Murdoch because he has this ability, and I can't play I don't know, Twin Blast in this matchup. You know what I mean? Like, and it's all this interesting stuff. And I mean, one that hits a little bit more close to home, you know, if I wanted to lock in Crunch Jungle and everyone starts shitting on me, and I'm just like, no, you just gotta let me, you know, fight and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I run out of mana, but it's like, people like, Chimera, get the fuck out. I'm like, Sevarog, or get the fuck out. And I'm like, I understand, but like,
Yeah.
the Evo. Bro. Because I would lock crunch. People
So,
commenting like fuck you. Like,
remember,
are you serious? Like, yeah, I'm fucking serious. I have the master skin. You know how many times I've seen someone with a crunch master skin? Fucking never. It's just me, okay? Like, I put in work.
I think the best game state that Paragon ever had was when they buffed Iggy.
Yeah, but you just liked Iggy.
That was sarcasm. That was complete sarcasm. It was
Oh,
the mindset that, like, you have to think about that from when the game came out, right from the absolute beginning. Iggy sucked,
Iggy was always bad.
and then Iggy came in and one shot you. Do you remember how much that used to hurt?
Dealt so much fucking damage. Yeah. Okay, first thing, Chandler, I don't know how your sarcasm dodged me that much. I completely like just the way you said it. I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" So work on that. Second, yeah, I think that's a really really good example of how like every single time that fucking Cameron dude's words reverberate in my head. It's like, you guys don't see the numbers. It's like, are you playing the same game as us? Like, in what world is doing this to Iggy a good idea? Like fuck off.
And I think that was a symptom of
Simp.
sort of like the developers having a bit of a god complex. Because again, this was at the time when everyone's telling them the game is failing, and they're listing like, let's say there's a list of 30 things that are wrong with the game, and literally right at the bottom of the list, somebody, as a joke, in 20, like number 29 of the list of 30, they go, Iggy has never been playable, and then that's the only thing they read.
And then like
And they go,
number
"You know
one
what?
is
You know
towers or shit. Instant dodge. Like
No, there was no way to build him. That was the issue, just like with
I tried
his abilities.
to build Iggy a few times before he got his rework. I did try to build because if you just built a lot of ability damage and you chained his circle onto his basic attack, you could deal like half of someone's health bar, but then you were fucked. Like, yeah, and then you had no health, and if you didn't have anyone there beside you, like you could run away. Cool. Fun. That's what I want to do with my character. Just like run the fuck away. Who argues it isn't?
I don't know about that, man. Those cards fucking sucked.
Yeah, this is before the cards. No, you have a good point. Yeah,
41. What was the big update in 41?
it was one of the model. It was monolith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing I was going to ask you about. Do we want the characters to move faster, to like have fighting be faster and more twitchy, or is it fun the way it is? Mm-hmm. Well, everyone should have had that. Yep. Yeah, I'm assuming it would be like just general speed, like attack speed, which would add to your overall DPS. Even though you haven't been buffing, let's say, attack, but uh,
Do you guys remember when they increased the shit out of attack speed? Do you guys remember that? Was that New Dawn? I think that was New Dawn. Or maybe it was like one of the last updates they did, but I just remember I was playing as Seraph.
okay, I'm gonna have to mention this. You can't hear you on stream.
Have you been muted? Have you been muted this whole time, Greg? Bro.
That's okay. That's okay. We're here now.
I just noticed that because I had the stream on mute. I just wanted to watch it, and then all of a sudden, I decided to put the volume on, and I was listening to Greg talk just because me and Steven have a lot of just like talking, not really a lot of like listening to Greg. So yeah,
Not
yeah,
gonna
Oh
that's
my
the
lie,
thing.
I
god.
just
Oh my
lost a
god.
bit of full. But thank you for telling me. And
I
I
mean,
guarantee you I'll never make that mistake again now.
I
Holy
definitely had
shit.
to
How long have we
interject
been
and like
talking?
A long time. So for everyone that's watching, I've been talking this whole time with my motherfucking mic muted!
It's a
Now
good thing I
now
said
that we've regained
strange moves
composure
at the
because we
beginning.
yelled. Hi! Welcome, Faultarians. We are playing Fault. Okay, we gotta get rid of the monolith. Hello, everyone. We're talking about Fault today. We're talking about what the good, bad, and the ugly is, and we're just going to discuss it. While we're doing that, I'm just throwing on some Alpha 3 weekend gameplay, because that's all I got to work with, unfortunately. And we're just going to
God
talk about it. We're
damn
going to
it.
talk about our experiences, our point of views, and the theories that we have of how the game could be better, what Strange Matter is doing super fantastic of, and what needs to be reworked. So far, we've talked about Elder Raptors. They've been mentioned. They've been mentioned by a game designer by the name of Sylphin. You may or may not have heard of him. Uh, but nothing's confirmed, but he's mentioned it, if that makes any sense. So it's like there's no official writing saying it's going to happen, but they're definitely testing it out and trying to make it happen. So we're talking about theories at the moment of how that's going, and through that we're getting off on tangents, a bit of nostalgia, of course, and other stuff that we think could be improved, and so on and so forth.
Goofs and gaffs between three very good friends
Yes.
and brothers.
Who boy.
I'm sorry for laughing. I find that very funny. Um, uh,
It's okay. It's okay, Steve.
I was talking about uh that update where they made attack speed really fucking quick, and
Yeah.
Seraph was just like they lowered damage and increased the shit out of attack speed. I'm like, this is the stupidest shit I've ever seen.
Well, because
Why
the
is this
problem was
big
is that
ass mace dealing 5 damage?
they increased the attack speed, but they didn't account for the fact that the animations could not keep up with the attack speed.
Yeah.
So it just you lose immersion once a game like this. That again, everything looks so beautiful that all of a sudden the characters are just erratic.
Yeah. I'm still the most broken version of Paragon that I can remember is definitely the version where I could kill Or Prime if I had a Richter on my team, a Grux
Grux.
on my team, and any ADC, and within the first 3 minutes of the game.
You just roll up to fucking Orb Prime. You know that meme of the guy in the yellow suit behind the tree? It's like when we auto lock Richter and Grux, and I'm feeling Twin Blast today.
Yeah, I literally that's literally the start of my Richter main, and like Steve knows, he can account for this. I was a very hit or miss player with Richter, to say the least.
You know, I let you do it because it made you happy.
I loved that man.
Oh, by the way, Greg, I noticed that I kind of fucked up. You know how I've been saying I've been so excited to get back to playing Rampage?
Yeah.
I've been meaning Grux this whole time.
You motherfucker.
I forgot that character, I forgot the name. Okay, well, to be fair, I had to Google Iggy because I kept thinking it was Izzy.
That's my
So-
fault because of my work.
There's definitely, there's a lot of
It's
know,
been
age
it's been
showing.
it's been 2
It's
years.
been a
man.
fucking while.
It's been a
like,
while. It's understandable.
Because didn't
Oh
the
my
game go out? Was that the beginning of 2018 or 2017?
Buddy, wasn't it
2017.
2016?
No, it's been
No,
2
what the
years.
fuck?
It's been 2 years.
No, it started in 2016. No, no.
Okay, I'm gonna Google this real
I
quick.
think it was 2016 because I think it was in the first year of my undergrad.
Behold the god that is Google to give us our answer.
Fucking Google.
Come on, John.
Wait, no, here it is.
Dude, what the fuck? Like, I get nothing with you around.
September 2017, more. Yeah, I think it was the beginning of 2018 when the game hit the shit.
Hit the shit.
Early 2016.
Started pay to play early access in March 2016.
Yeah, that's how we started playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm talking about when the game closed.
Oh, no one cares about that. That's 2018.
Yeah, that's what I
that
fucking
was,
asked.
Yeah, but I think the game ended for us way before that.
Okay.
We were just on autopilot, just playing and just play.
Yeah.
So, on the topic of Raptors, this is the final thing I want to say about them, and then I want to move on to a new topic. So we've talked about at a certain minute, the big Raptors evolve. A certain number you kill, they could evolve, and a certain. We also talked about it being an item. It actually being an item version, so there's no actual big raptor, but an item can make it work, which I think is a really unique idea, and I think we should actually, for another time, think about that more. And the idea that if there might be some kind of Elder Raptor spawn after after the Orb Prime buff is finished.
Yeah. After it's finished or after Orb Prime dies?
I think it should be after it's finished because I'm telling you, if you make it right after I grab the Orb Prime buff, you know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah, but like that's the whole thing. Like the enemy team could be like, okay, they're going to get Prime because remember how you knew they were at Prime and you were like, well, fuck, now I'm just gonna sit in lane and wait for them to come fuck my shit. But what if it gives your team the opportunity, like, okay, get to the fucking Raptor because the second they kill Prime, that Raptor is gonna spawn, and you give that to the ADC or you give that to the jungle, and that's the only way we're actually going to kill any of them is if, do you know what I mean? And so it would encourage more team plays. Do you know what I mean?
Instead of just sitting there at your just destroyed inhibitor waiting for them to push the lane.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea, but what happens if the team grabs the Elder Raptor?
Well, then you just lose quicker and you can start a new fucking game because you guys fucked up and you let them get Prime. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, that'd end up being
Prime
the plan would end up being that you just have
Yeah.
whoever's built the highest at that point, make sure they will get Elder Raptor and then go fuck up Prime.
Because if you have some of your teammates at the Elder Raptor, then that's less players helping you kill Prime. And if you have all your teammates split between these two areas, who's watching the lanes? Do you know what I mean? So you need to set up the lanes. You need to make sure you're talking with each other because that's the whole thing. Do you just double down?
Boom
Okay, we're
chat,
all going to be at
baby.
prime, and we can, and so you can say to yourself, you can be a bit more of a bluff. Are they all at prime? Are some of them at Raptors? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Should we just push the lanes? All this kind of stuff.
Okay. To try to just bring it back, the last thing I want to talk about is not how the Raptors evolve into an Elder Raptor, like Ogmon going to Greymon, but we want to talk about what what doesn't what is the reward for killing one Elder Raptor, two Elder Raptors, and three Elder Raptors? Should I be able to kill one Elder Raptor and your whole team gets the buff? Or should only be to the individual player? Should the Raptors come with buffs? Because at the moment all they give is gold. And I personally think that they need to start giving more than gold.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. If they go to an elder, they should give one
Like a
random
permanent,
river buff.
yeah, yeah,
or like a
yes,
permanent damage buff.
yeah. So
Yeah, well, a
one,
permanent river buff,
so to
let's
give
say.
an example of that, an Elder
Always invisible.
Raptor might give you 4% permanent damage increase on whatever character killed the Raptor.
Yeah.
And then if there's two Elder Raptors, uh, you now get 8% permanent. Or we can go a bit crazier. The Raptor evolves into a blue Raptor, so now it gives you 4% mana regen, and then the red Raptor gives you 4% damage increase.
Do we want to add more RNG to this fucking game? I don't know. I
Hmm,
mean, maybe, but
maybe. That's actually what League does. So with the way the dragons work is one dragon spawns and it can be one of the four.
yeah, I
And
I guess it would have to be RNG.
yeah. But I'm
Um,
pretty sure. Do you think it would be important to know what raptor is going to spawn before it spawns, or do you think it should just spawn and then you got to go look at it? Oh, that's what it is. Or do you think the game should just announce red elder raptor spawned?
yeah, it would have to be announced so that you know, like, okay, I'm ADC. I'm gonna leave lane and try and get that.
Yeah, I think announcing it's actually a really cool idea, and I think it'd be really cool if it was a part of the HUD on the screen or the UI, whatever you want to call it. Uh, I think it'd be really cool if it showed on the screen that there's a red Elder Raptor. Or
Yeah.
so if you guys like that idea, what do you guys think should be the different buffs that the Raptor should give? And it has
Larger
to be
dick.
unique to Fault, right?
Well,
Mm.
I think just the simplest would just be a like more enhanced version of the river buff. Just the exact same river buffs, just either times two or whatever.
Okay. At the moment in
Instead of
Fault, there's only two buffs in the game. There's a red buff, which deals burn damage on basic attack hits, and there's a river buff that gives you uh, a percentage of mana regen depending on your missing mana.
I mean, I kind of like that because you get incentive to use more mana rather than just whore it until somebody comes.
Yeah. And then there's in the Paragon though, there was the black buff, there was the invisible buff, which was the purple buff. There was also the green buff, and there was also the blue buff, which was movement speed. So we
yeah,
have three raptors, so we have three buffs we can work with. So
there's the also dot
I think the
damage over
green
time.
buff is a really cool idea for a raptor. It gives you health, and when you lose the buff, oh no, because it has to be permanent. It just gives you an extra bit of health. Simple as that. Here you go. Here's a bit more permanent health. Or it should be health regen.
It would have to be health regen.
I think health regen's more beneficial than just
Yeah.
straight
And
up
like
health.
flat. Yeah.
I also think that if you start, I actually agree with you guys there. I shouldn't say
And
actually.
blue just be mana regen straight.
Yeah. And I also
Just like
think,
not dependent on how much you use. Like if it's going to be from these elders and they're going to be like green straight up just health regen, blue straight up just mana regen. I mean, red can just be crit bonus. Is there any crit in this game, or is it pure
Yeah,
crit
it's
does
crit.
exist.
physical?
Crit does exist, yeah.
Yeah, so just get a crit multiplier based on
I
red.
also, one thing that I'm really, it's something simple. One thing that I'm really starting to love, the taste in my mouth is starting to get really sweet when I think about it. Uh, Remember how I said items, there's movement speed items in Fault? And
Mm.
so let's say, now it's not in the game yet, But let's say there.
Shinbi, movement
Shinbei?
speed
Are we
queen.
talking about Shinbei now? Hold on. Okay.
Oh fuck! You reminded me of Shin.
Okay. To get back on track, because in the stream, or I don't know why I said stream. Sorry, I just looked at my Twitter for a second and I lost track. Because in the game there's items that give you movement speed, I think it'd be really cool if there was a legendary item that said this. It gives you movement speed, and for each faction you have, it gives you a percentage of extra movement speed. And I think why that's really cool is because you can make, because what, remember how there used to be a movement speed buff in Paragon, one of the
Yeah.
river buffs? Hello, Chandler, you just
Yes,
sounded
sir.
like a robot for a second. Okay, you're good. You're good.
Yes.
Uh, I think it'd be really cool if one of the raptors spawned and became a movement speed buff. So now you're really becoming OP. Because the thing about movement speed, why it can be super crucial in a MOBA, is you get away faster, you're harder to hit, and you can push lanes fist quicker. So movement
Yeah.
speed's actually like a huge, huge deal, and it's
Well,
something like
again,
completely
especially
new.
in a game that at its core is about timing.
Exactly.
So if you
Yeah.
have to choose between spending time, let's say, chasing a buff in, let's say, jungle or laning,
Hmm.
like every single thing is dependent on how much time you spend in it. So you just have the ability to either make it's a little more lenient if you make the mistake of going into jungle trying to grab a buff and then you're like, oh shit, I just completely just left this lane alone. I got to get back to it right now. But
Hmm.
it's
Mm.
okay. I built movement speed. I can
I
quickly just zoom and go
I
do
really
it.
like the idea I just said, but I do think movement speed can be broken. So I think there will be a lot of balancing, and it might be
Well,
one
you
of those
just make
things that you might
cap.
never be able to balance properly because there's
Yeah.
too many characters. And
And that's why I think like having, let's say again, something like Elder Dragons, make sure they never your speed because you just threw your items, just have whatever soft cap you put on your items to make sure that you can't have movement speed be beyond, let's say, everyone starts at 100 and maximum's 200. Because again, stun is still a thing in the game,
yeah,
so irregardless, still
If you have
stun somebody who's faster than you.
if you have a hard cap on something like that, though, it makes other players that have builds that don't include something like that become irrelevant just because they're not playing that. Like if you hard cap it at 200, then if you are at 25 minutes in and your movement speed isn't 200, then you're just you're fucking up and you're
Well,
forcing
again,
players to
because
make decisions.
irregardless, let's say you're a character such as, let's say, our good boy over here, Narbash,
Hmm.
and now you have either be an item or a buff that increases stun time. So that would be the counter to somebody you notice somebody on the other team's building movement speed. But now again, you can't guarantee that you're going to be able to stun them because there is some amount of skill involved. But you could hard stun them even though they are faster than.
Uh, I think I'm going to try to take the middle ground on this one. I think there needs to be a cap because you might end up playing a 50-minute game with a twin blast that you literally can't hit a hit on, and he's walking around uh like the big kid on the block. You know what I
Yeah, but
mean?
Yeah.
if you haven't won at that point, y'all are just dumb. Like
Okay, but
if your twin blast is like electric scootering, like
you say bolting everywhere on the map.
and you ain't won yet, yeah, you ain't gonna win. Like,
Yeah, but
but anyways, continue.
I think that there should be a cap, but I think the cap should be almost unreachable. So that like
Yeah.
even if you played a 60-minute game, you probably still haven't reached the cap. Because
Or
there
you'd get
needs
it
to be
at
a
60.
limit where the characters aren't walking around and you literally cannot hit them because they're walking too fast. You literally can't beat them to any lane even though they just spawned because they're walking too fast.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Just widen
Just
Richter's
play
all done.
Morgesh and
You
just
got
press
him.
R1 and just not have to aim it. You just take a quarter of their health just by pressing one button.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now we're gonna move on to the next topic. That was quite a while for one topic, I must say.
Passionate.
I don't. At this rate, I don't see us getting through everything. But that's all right. So the next thing I want to talk about is I want to either go to a good thing or I want to start going into something I think needs a bit of a deeper look at on Strange Matters End. So I want to either talk about Bellica, which is kind of the negative thing, or I want to talk about lane objectives. So if what I always like to put it this way, primary objectives are the primary objective in a MOBA and in Fault is to kill the enemy, to kill the core, the enemy core. Secondary objectives are Prime and Raptors. And then there's tertiary objectives. Do you remember the gold buff in Safe Lane and
Yeah.
Monolith?
Yeah.
Tertiary objectives. There's been a few hints on Strange Matters End of having each lane have a tertiary objective.
Good.
Nice.
So if you want to, you can argue that there was a gold buff for the ADC. There was a river buff for the mid lane. There's a green buff for the jungle, but there's nothing for the off lane. The river buff's in a really weird place on the Fault map. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of a jungle buff now. But I think they're fixing that. I really hope they are. But so, what do you think would be a good off lane buff?
Defense or damage mitigation,
Health regen.
mana
Just like
regen,
I guess it depends
cooldown,
on
like
what those
ability
characters
cooldowns.
like. If they're going to end up being more like just with whatever reworked abilities or passives they have, like what's going to be the most beneficial for those characters.
But the
What
only
if it's
problem is
tower repair?
if you make it. I like tower repair. Why I don't like an armor buff? Let's say.
Yeah.
What if you're playing Countess? Why do I care that I have more armor? Like in all reality, like it's nice to have, but is it
Yeah.
really gonna help me be a better player, be a better character?
You could withstand enough hits to land your ult. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, because for her, once she gets that ult off, she
Yeah.
gets health. You know what I mean?
And in Fault, they're going back to the legacy way. So safe lane is the dual lane now. It's
Yeah,
support
yeah.
carry versus support carry, not this 2 versus 1 thing.
Oh, you didn't like that, did you?
I wasn't a big fan, no, because I just wasn't. I just wasn't a big fan.
Yeah, it was kind of like go play off lane. It's like okay, cool, and you have to if you wanted to
Let me
play
get
like
shit on for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, again,
come
your
alive.
only goal was to hold the lane as long as humanly possible
It felt like-
before your
yeah.
jungler could come gank one person.
Yeah.
And then you
It
just
felt like
chase
it felt
after
like
Narbash.
the end of the two towers when they're like holding Helm's Deep. That's literally how it felt. I was like, yeah, they're gonna get in at some point, but it's like if the way I always thought about it, if I held that tower for 5 minutes, we were probably gonna win. And it's, if they went down before that, I was always like, yeah, we're fucked. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
But my logic is not sound, so don't mind me.
So I think a good offlane buff. I think I really like the idea of tower regeneration.
Yeah, that's big. Get a
'Cause
little construction hat.
yeah, or I think I would like to look at it a different way. Instead of doing tower regen, I would like to do tower attack. Because when you're in an off lane, it's usually just two big beefy shields swinging at people. Usually, like of course you might have an assassin or you might have a revenant there for whatever God knows whatever. Because Suki decides he's good enough to play revenant anywhere. And but I think tower damage might be a bit better, simply because what if your tower's full?
Mm.
Why are you going for the objective then?
Yeah, I guess at that point, no matter what,
Or it could
bonus
allow you
tower
to
damage is
leave.
always going to be.
It could allow you to
beneficial.
leave lane because you know that even that little bit of damage you're gonna get, you can get back and then heal it up. Do you know what I mean?
That's true. So yeah, that actually might be because. Or what if it gave not tower regen, but it gave tower armor?
Yeah.
Just
So-
a bonus shield, so
Yeah.
it just they have to get rid of that
It
shield
adds
before they can start
like
doing
in
physical
Kingdom
damage.
Hearts,
It's a
where
bit
you,
harder
the
to kill.
little square is like another health bar.
Yeah.
adding a little square to the tower.
That actually might be a really cool idea.
I'm full of those fucking things, bro.
Okay, so let's say it's not tower armor or tower damage. Uh, what else? What else would you put in the
Makes your
offlane?
dick big. um,
This is difficult
listen,
now. Look,
I
this.
got my priorities.
uh,
Okay.
what I would do is, I think I would do something as I would make the tertiary to make the tertiary objective always viable because because the way if you make it a tower, I just thought of this. Once the tower falls, that buff is useless. No one's ever touching the offlane buff again, unless it makes all
Uh,
towers.
yeah,
Then
I
that.
think it would affect like inhibitors and stuff too.
Oh, okay.
And so you would have to go out into the map to get it and then come back.
Mm.
And what if it wasn't a timed thing? It becomes like an activated buff that you can activate it when you get to a
Just add
tower.
that little bit of extra skill of it being activated.
Yeah, instead of because like if you wanted to use it on your far right inhibitor, but you have to go to your far left lane to get it,
Hmm.
you can just have it on your character, and if you die, you lose it or something.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And that actually is really cool. I actually think that's really cool. Uh,
Neat.
I was also thinking that what if the tertiary objective, this buff, was a buff that helped you get the secondary objectives? So it made the Raptors slightly weaker
Hmm.
for
Bonus
your
damage to
specific team.
dinosaur characters.
Yeah. You heard it here, folks. Strange Matter Studios' first original character is going to be Greymon.
We gotta get the copyrights
Yeah,
for Greymon.
or Godzilla.
That would appeal to the Asian demographic.
You wanna know why
They
that's
love
really cool,
Godzilla.
actually? Because in One Piece right now, we're in the Wano arc, in the manga and the anime,
The
and that's
what?
like the samurai arc, is what it is. So remember back in like 500 AC, you know how Japan used to be like samurai used to be like a actual job.
Yeah.
So basically, the Wano Island is the samurai era.
Hmm.
But the big pirate that Luffy's trying to kill, um, he's called the Beast. He's the captain of the Beast Pirates. So everyone can transform into a different kind of animal, and
Hmm.
they've been showing like the top six Beast Pirates, with the exception of the captain, because he's not a part of it. He's just the captain. Three out of six of them are T Rexes
Fuck yeah.
for whatever reason. I guess Oda really likes. Anywho, that's for all the One Piece lovers out there. That's my take.
Nice.
Okay, so in the off lane, let's say that's the thing. What do you guys think with the mid lane for tertiary objective? Do you think it should just be same old river buff?
Um. Yeah. Mana regen. You
Okay,
don't have to go back to base to get another pot. Or what if there was okay? Can you in Fault access the item store in lane?
no, you have to go back
What
to
if there was a
base.
buff that let you buy things in lane for like a window of time?
Whoa.
Because remember, in my honest opinion, the most valuable like
So instead of
currency
having
in the
to,
game
wow,
is time, right?
yeah.
So you don't get, the health regen, you don't get the mana regen from going back, but it's the idea of you get that buff of a new card or a new item or a new, you know what I mean? You can buy pots and like, you
Yeah, and I
have
guess that it wouldn't be too broken either, because again, both people in mid lane have access to that.
yeah. And you could, have lore things where it's like a little robot
Push.
that like gadget made, like drone strikes it in and
Hmm.
I don't know, it'd be kind of cool, you know what I
I
mean?
think that would. I actually think what you just said was ingenious.
Thanks.
If you had, let's say, 20 seconds after you got a certain buff to access the item store in lane, so you don't have to go back and keep pushing your lane.
Yeah, like I think that is a lot more beneficial than a fucking movement speed buff.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like especially in like the like 3 to 12 minute range, like
Hmm.
not having to go back. And yeah, and it would reward players that don't get hit a lot. It would reward players that manage their mana because you obviously, when you go back to base, you get that that refill, but if you'd been watching your stuff good, then, you know,
Mm.
you could just get super fucking ahead and it would make you a big problem.
I actually think that's. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I'm topping that idea. Yeah,
Dang.
that was pretty good. That was pretty good, Steve.
Appreciate it.
God damn it! I'm just gonna scratch out
Write it
1 7
down.
now. Fuck 6. I actually was
Write it.
trying to find my notebook today because I have like 6 notebooks. They're all about different stuff, but I have one or two of them are just empty, and I bought them like all in bulk a while ago. And so I was trying to find one of them today, and I was gonna make it like notes on full,
Mhm.
just because I would love to be able to do this kind of thing more often than just this one time.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make like a series out of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Make
and
our own community corner.
exactly.
Definitely pick a better day than for Mondays.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
fuck
yes.
Monday.
It's only because of the corona, Mr.
Canola
Rona,
Corona.
virus.
that this is working. You know what I
Can you
picture?
mention
Okay,
that?
just off topic. If the coronavirus was a person, I picture that he's that old white dude that's 70 years old that wears a top hat, and every time he walks by someone, he tips his hat. Doesn't matter who they are.
And he tells like 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds that they're beautiful.
Yeah,
That fucking guy.
yeah, that guy.
Those guys come into Izzy's sometimes. Wow, you're very beautiful. And Madison looks over to me. He's like, fucking help me. And I was like, hi there, sir. I can ring you in. He's like upset that like Madison's not ringing him in. He's like, you're
Yeah.
fucking weird, buddy. Anyways, that's just a little rant.
Um,
Don't mind me.
okay. So I'm gonna try to describe to you guys, because I know you guys didn't have the opportunity to play any of the weekends, which is kind of unfortunate. But I want to just describe to you guys where the river buff is. So you know how there's a river going down the middle of the map. You know where the
Yeah, I
off.
mean, we can see the map right now on
I was
the
gonna say,
screen.
can you find it somewhere in your
Oh yeah,
stream?
yeah,
At any
yeah.
point, do you go to it?
Yes, I
Or you
do.
can just like point to it. Is it because the purple spot is prime, right?
Okay, yeah, that's what we'll do. Actually, it might be.
Yeah, even just move your cursor on the little mini map and just point to where it is, like a whiteboard.
Yeah, it's over here. It's this blue dot. So this is where the river is, right here, and this is
But
where
it,
the
it's
this is where
it's
the
the
river
blue
buff is.
circle.
Yeah. So there's a river buff here and a river buff here. So it's
Huh.
in the off jungle.
Oh,
Yeah. Right in the heart of the off jungle. So
odd.
that's why I said earlier that the mid laners aren't really grabbing it because they have to go behind their tier 1 tower. So it's more of a jungle buff than it is a
Yeah.
mid laner buff.
Okay.
Which I think is kind of unfortunate. I just think it's just will be as simple as move it. Do you think the mid laners should have the RNG like they did in Paragon of the black buff, blue buff, purple buff?
Sorry, you cut out. Say that one more time.
Do you think you remember how in Paragon there was different buffs for the river buff and it was RNG
Yes.
based? Do you think that should come back default in the mid lane, or do you think it
Um,
should just be the one buff?
it's okay to have RNG, but like, please, like, just make all the buffs helpful.
Yeah, I actually think that idea of your item shop in the mid lane is even more crucial than it will ever be in an off lane in one of the side lanes because how
Yeah,
quick the minions move to the lane.
yeah, and like because that's another thing too. When you're not in lane, that's last hits you're not getting.
Yeah.
So that might actually be a better buff for the off lane. Gee,
Hmm. Uh,
wow.
so now we're moving on to that. Now we're going to move on to the safe lane. What is the safe lane buff? And we're not making it the gold buff. We're not just going to give the carry more gold.
Yeah.
It has to be something that benefits the support and the carry.
Health region,
Hmm.
or like a stun,
Stun. Whoa, a stun. That actually might be really good.
and like an activated stun
Yeah, an activated stun.
that you
Uh,
can only use once.
yeah, that only has a one-time use. It's activated, uh,
It
and
can be hidden, like a hidden buff, so you don't know if the support or the ADC has it.
yeah, you don't know who has it. And then as the game goes on, maybe the buff becomes longer and longer.
Yeah,
So
like
it might be,
the more times it gets the little bug gets killed, like the whole like natural selection thing.
yeah, the natural selection thing that we talked about occurs, and it goes from being a half a second stun to a 2 second root by the end of it.
Hmm.
Or maybe you know what would be a really good offlane buff? I just thought of this now. What if there was a buff that stopped the enemy from using abilities, one-time use activation,
A silence.
a silence?
Yeah, sure. That would be really helpful.
So I
Shift
just
those
thought of something.
motherfuckers up.
Just when you guys talked about this whole natural selection thing, what would happen? Because again, I know we all love this game. We would play it hours on end, but I don't think anyone can sit down and say they want to play one match for an hour. Correct?
No one wants to do that.
So what would happen? So all these buffs we're talking about through the map, regardless of what they do, let's just say at certain timestamps through the game, the buffs get buffed. So let's say like you had one that you guys are talking about a stun. So just naturally in the first 15 minutes, it's a 1 2 second stun. Then you hit a half an hour in. Now all of a sudden it's a 3 4 second stun.
Yeah, just make
And
the
then
fucking game
you're
get
hitting
over here.
45. You're 45 minutes in. You're dang well going to have a 5 second stun. You're going to root them there. You're going to remove them so you can
Yeah,
finish the game.
I actually think that's a really good idea. But I
But
think,
any of the buffs,
yeah,
you just
but I think adding
overtime buff.
the more you kill it, the more it evolves is a good way to do it. Because what it will come down to, what I think is really cool about that, is it adds a huge dynamic to all the lanes. Because in the back of my head, if I'm a support, I don't want to worry about how many times my offlaner killed the buff because it's the offlaner's job. So then I'll know uh by where we are in the game. Okay, did you happen to win your lane objective? You did? Okay, good. We're still in this game.
Yeah, so no matter what role you're playing in the game, you have something to farm
Yes.
outside of just. I mean,
Yes. That's actually really cool. The idea of natural selection throughout the whole map. Hmm.
I love how we're saying natural selection.
That's how it is now.
that's
So
the
what do you
term
guys
I'm
think?
going with.
What do you
Everyone
guys think
knows.
about the red buff, the burn damage buff that's already in the map and it's for the jungler? Jungler.
I mean, I'd like if it was just, I don't know.
Do you think that should
Something
get
like that is
natural
nice,
selected?
but like, how much does it actually benefit?
Oh, it benefits a lot. Every basic attack you land, you do burn damage on an
How long
enemy
does the
hero.
burn last? I guess.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know the stats. Strange
It's a
Matter has
nice
not
dot.
released any analytics.
Because that's
They're
going to be
keeping
the
all the
other thing.
data
Like
to themselves, like
we're
Epic.
definitely going to have like
We need
with
to
a
know.
game like this that goes so in depth where you're
Yeah,
micromanaging numbers, like you need to know
we
the
need to
assets of like
we need
every
to know the
single
numbers.
possible variable.
By early access, I'm hoping Strange Matter will have some kind of numbers for us to look at.
It'd be helpful, yeah.
Even if those numbers change on a daily because they're still balancing, I need to know the numbers, and because I need to know how much damage I'm doing. Because sometimes that can be the difference between me deciding to gank someone and gank and not. Simple as that. Uh, but what do you think about the red buff? So what if the red buff naturally selected itself and
Hmm.
evolved? Um, and so now we're doing extra burn damage. Do you think that's a good way? Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think it's not a good idea?
I think it helps legitimize um, um, objectives throughout the whole game.
Hmm.
Because at a certain point, like obviously you don't want it to become. Do you also think that maybe like if the buff gets stronger, make the cooldown long for its respawn?
I actually think that, yeah. I really like the idea. Remember how in improv, Steve, raising the stakes, and like
Yeah,
that's really what makes a good story. If we
yeah,
consider a match of Fault a story, these buffs evolving is a way to raise the stakes, and
yeah.
I really think that's. I just think it'll add so much depth to the game, and we're only
Yeah, and
getting to
you
the
just get
surface
some sort of
of.
indicator, like you just like naturally, let's say, hovering above it, like you know if it's the difference between a tier one red buff and a tier six.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it should be in your HUD if it's a tier 1 buff, with the exception of the Prime and Raptors.
Yeah.
But I think the tertiary objectives, the second you look at it, you should know what level it's at.
Mm.
Now, so let's
Or do you
say,
guys think that should be up to the player to research and find out themselves?
well, here's the thing. So let's say you've been doing your part and you've been farming your buff.
Hmm.
Can let's say you get it up to tier six. Does that mean anyone in the game when they kill that gets tier six, or is it just you?
It's just the person that gets the buff, I think, is what we're going with. The tertiary objectives are only for the
No,
people
but I
that
mean, let's
get the
say
buff.
somebody for whatever reason completely leaves their lane and they go and take your buff, like someone on your team, let's say,
Hmm.
for whatever reason. Let's say the off lane goes and takes the mid lane's buff. Does the off lane get a tier six buff, or because they haven't been farming it, they get a tier one? Or let's say the enemy team comes in and they haven't been farming theirs at all, but they kill yours and it's at tier six. Does the enemy team get tier six, or does no matter what, if it's on the enemy, like the other side, like because that's how you just end up like, how do you balance that, or do you just mirror it? So whatever your on your side, whatever buff that is, if you get it on theirs, let's say because you're attacking their core, and it was just more convenient to grab their buff, you grab theirs, but theirs is only tier two. Like you'd kind of have to have it no matter what. Like you're leveling up
Uh,
all
I
of your buffs.
I really like the
If we're going to say
idea
level up.
that there's a risk involved with leveling up your buff. The risk being that the enemy heroes can grab your buff and
Okay, fair
steal it
enough.
from you. I think it adds a bit
Yeah,
of competitiveness, and I think it may even add a level of dynamic where I'm not grabbing my buff because I want to grab theirs.
yeah.
And you can just avoid them if they get.
Well,
You
and
know what I
most
mean?
times
Like
these buffs are
getting.
literally only
Yeah,
like 1-2 hit anyway, so it's
Yeah.
neither here. It's not like dedicating a bunch of time to go get it. It's just the fact that every single time you go in lane, you need to make sure you grab it so they don't.
yeah.
Mhm.
But does that just trivialize going into lane? Like, are you adding too many steps just to get to your lane? Because again, we're talking about time being valuable. So, I mean, I guess as long as the
Yeah.
amount of buff you're getting, it doesn't matter if you're wasting more time. As long as each time
With
you go
the
do it,
with
it's
the
more
ex-
powerful.
with the exception of the river buff, because the mid lane is shorter and it takes them half a second to go get the river buff and come back, I think the side lane buffs need to be in the lane to try to keep that laning phase going.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to throw it like in the middle of the river.
Yeah. Could you? Oh boy. And especially where that idea of time that's been brought up, and you don't want to have to take the time to walk over to it more than you need to. So keeping it in the lane where you already are is kind of a good way to do it. Because then,
Yep,
yeah, yeah. Hmm. Do you guys got any final thoughts on that, or are we gonna move on to the next thing?
I'm good to
Uh,
go to the next thing. You're talking about Balka?
Bellica. We're going to talk about Bellica for a second. So, we've moved on to the portion of what I personally believe is the negative of Bellica at the moment. And there's a bit of a story that has to go with this to understand why I believe she's just less fun and just an overall worse character than she previously was. So, Strange Matter made the executive decision they're giving every hero a passive. I don't know if you guys knew that. So every hero's having 5 abilities now.
Good.
And the reason they're doing that is they're trying to add depth to the characters because their argument was, why would you choose a gadget over a howitzer? There was no real reason to fault. It was just about personal preference. But with this passive, it will add a difference to a team comp, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Uh, so that sounds fantastic. So basically, what they did is, remember how earlier in our discussion we were mentioning that Paragon did a really bad poorly, where when there was a problem, they used to nerf all the characters instead of making them better.
Yeah.
And the thing is everyone wants to feel like the character they're using is fantastic. It just adds a level of fun. It adds that I'm gonna fuck you up kind of concept thing.
Yeah, a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, that you got going. Uh, so they gave every character a passive to basically elevate the gameplay. Simple as that, and to give heroes more depth. They were killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So now we're going to talk about why I think Bellica is the sole exception to this, to the 13 heroes they currently have. And I want you guys to give your opinion at the end. If you disagree, agree, whatever. So to go over this, we got to talk about the original Paragon Bellica before they added the passives. So to do that, you got the root. You got a root which hits in a straight line. Does a certain amount of energy damage, and anyone that gets hit in that line gets rooted. Simple as that, right?
Yep.
You got her drone. She places down a drone, and it defends this radius. Within that radius, it does 0 damage. It takes about 2 basic attacks approximately to kill. And if you don't kill that drone, enemy heroes lose mana while in its radius. You got her AoE ability, which after a short delay, it just deals damage. Simple as that. It's a very small AoE.
Wasn't there an aspect of the drone that if you used an ability while you were in the radius, it like zapped you? Remember that?
Maybe.
I was pretty sure that was a thing.
Okay.
Was that a Paragon thing or a Fault thing?
Yeah, it was a Paragon
It's
thing.
in Fault.
If you
But it might have been. It might have been. I actually don't remember, to be honest.
okay. Well,
Okay. And and Bellica's ult, she pulled out her pistol, she shot 1 bullet at a specific enemy of your choice, whichever enemy you're aiming at, and it deals a certain X amount of energy damage and 1% of their missing mana. Simple as that. So the thing that made Bellica super fantastic was she was what we call a utility mage. She was a utility mage. She had worse range, worse basic attack damage, and slightly worse energy damage than every other character like Howitzer, Gideon, Gadget. But her utility made up for that. And because of that, she was like a top tier pick. You know what I mean? And to where Gideon, Howitzer, and Gadget used to target more so multiple people at once, uh, Bellica had more of a singular target, but you had the ability to target more, if that makes any sense. So that's why she was played in the off lane a lot, because she was very good at making one character rendered useless. So that sounds awesome. So they decided that they were going to change it, and this is how they changed it. They added her passive. Her passive now in full is that her drone follows her around the map. So from the second the map starts, her drone's in the top left corner, and every time you land a basic attack, it deals energy damage to whatever you're attacking. Sounds pretty good. She deals extra energy damage. Every time she lands a basic, her basics were always useless, so now they're a bit more better. They're just a bit better, right?
Yep.
But that's not all they changed. They kept her ult the same, they kept her root the same, and they kept her AoE the same. No, her AoE is slightly different. So her AoE ability now uh, gives it uh, it gives 1% of your missing mana back to you for the amount of damage you did. If that makes any sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then her command drone, you still place it on the ground, but instead of it taking away mana, they scrap that all together, and every time a hero uses an ability within the drone's radius, it deals energy damage to them. The drone is indestructible, but only lasts for 4 seconds. So it's a 4-second ability.
4 seconds. Okay. So
So,
how are you gonna trap somebody in 4 seconds?
so I'm going to tell you why I think this is bad. Number one, they took away her missing mana. They did that because uh, the developers of Fault, uh, pull. What was that person's name, Steve? That said, no, the stats show this.
Cameron.
They kind of pulled a Cameron a little bit. No offense to Strange Matter. Uh, and they said taking away an enemy hero's mana has been proven not to be fun, and it takes away from competitive gameplay. So that's why they scrapped it. Okay, fair enough. If that's what they believe, I believe in their decision. I actually really believe that Strange Matter is doing fantastic, and I'm going to support them. Anyway, I just just kind of I really do believe in them a lot. But the thing is they kept her ult the same, so her ult still has something to do with missing mana.
Yeah.
So now her kit already is not synchronizing the way it should be. You know what I mean? And the thing is that as well, that missing mana ability on her command drone added utility to Bellica that no other character had. So now you're taking away from her utility and you're taking away from her ability synchronizing. So now it feels like it's just more of a random character with random abilities thrown on it that have no uniqueness to her. That's the first thing. And
Just a
then
bit of
this
an
is,
identity crisis.
yeah. Then this is the second thing, and this is the big thing that I think needs to be fixed. And I think it's a simple fix. When you're using her command drone ability, you can't use her passive because it's the same drone. You cannot deal energy damage by hitting basic attacks and deal energy damage by the enemies doing abilities at the same time.
Hmm.
So why I believe that is an issue is because if you take Gideon, for example, he now has 5 abilities that work in every single situation no matter what. And he also has his ult, which is probably the best ult in the bloody game. Because and also just to add to his ult, you guys don't know this, but they made Gideon's ult give him a shield, so he's more difficult to get to knock out of his ult. And
What
that
the fuck?
man will CC everyone
Yep.
if it's
They
done
gave him a
properly.
shield?
Yeah, for every person that's in the ult, he gets a slight bit of a shield that blocks
Okay.
CC. I should mention
I
that
did.
part.
I didn't know Black Hole was one of the ults in the game that needed a buff, but okay.
remember in
It was news
Paragon,
to me.
remember in Paragon, people literally were using Gideon in competitive at the competitive level simply because his ult was that good, even though the rest of his kit and ability damage was worse than Gadget and Howitzer.
Yeah.
Like that's how good his ult is.
Yeah.
So now you do this. So basically, what I feel like they did is they made every character better, and then they made Bellica worse because she now lacks uniqueness. She's now just another damage mage like Gadget, Howitzer, and Gideon. Uh, Plus, she lacks her uniqueness. Well, that's kind of the same thing. Plus, she lacks her utility, and they didn't make up for it with. And I don't believe giving her more mana is making up for it. Like you taking away mana. because taking away mana is way more effective than gaining more mana, especially when you
Yeah.
learn the faction system and you learn that one of the factions you can go in is called Magician that regenerates mana at all times. So mana shouldn't really be that big of a deal if you want to build those kind of items.
Mm.
So basically, what I think needs to change, in my opinion, is number one, the command drone needs to be a second drone. She needs to be able to
Oh,
use her
100%.
abilities at all times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number two, 4 seconds is not long enough. Come on, brothers. 4 seconds, really. But the thing that can be really cool about her alt or about her command drone ability is they can hit multiple targets at once if they use their abilities.
Mm.
So it's easy counterable, but counterplay is always a good thing. So that's no big deal.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Bellica is now suffering an identity crisis. She went from being more of a utility mage to a damage mage. But she's a damage mage with worse range and worse ability damage. The other day, I asked a streamer, not going to mention his names, that's a tester, why is Bellica better now? You know what his answer was? Because she does more damage. This was yesterday. I was very disappointed.
Okay.
I was like, great. That's what I wanted. That's all I care. Like more damage. Yeah, woo. I'm glad
It's
Bellic.
like that's not what we got the ADC in the jungle for. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, like mages are kind of a secondary ADC, so I kind of see where they're coming from. But like, they need to give me more than she just does more damage. Oh, the number of health damage you deal goes up, and it's not like they. Anywho, what do you guys think? Do you guys disagree with me? Agree with me? What are your
yeah.
thoughts?
I mean, no matter what, you need two drones. There's no way you can be taking away your passive to use an
Even if it's
ability.
just 4 seconds, right?
That's the whole point of a passive too. It's like it's not affected by activated things. You know what I mean? It's a passive. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
just an aspect about the character.
yeah. Um, what do you guys think about her identity? Do you guys think, when you think about it, just roll it in your heads for a few seconds, do you think that she's still, would you argue that she's still a utility mage, even though they took away her mana?
Well, like that was always the great thing. Like if you were fighting Bellica, you needed to be careful. Like if you were someone that relied on your mana a lot, crunch, then you'd stay away from Bellica. But if you were like Chimera and you didn't give a shit about mana, like it was okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think the thing that also as well is now that she's more of a damage mage, quote unquote, uh, she, uh, she's, she doesn't have that unique flair that makes you want to choose her because someone as a counter to a certain other mage. As
mhm,
you just said, like before, uh, if someone chose Crunch, it'd be an instant choose Bellica because she's a good counter to Crunch. But
yeah,
now we're losing that a little bit. We're losing that counterplay a little bit,
yeah.
right?
Because like you always had to be careful. Like you had to
Yeah,
be aware of like how much you're using um your stuff because like that was the whole thing. Like she was a police officer, and it's like if you're fucking around too much, if you're abusing the law, if you're using your abilities too much, then you had to pay the price.
yeah. I got a question, just out of lore. Isn't Murdoch like a police officer also, or a
Yeah,
police?
they Bellica and Murdoch were they were like partners or something.
Oh, okay.
Not partners, but they were part of the same group, I think.
Okay, cool. Apparently, Falt's gonna come up with its own lore eventually, but uh, yeah, I think this is pretty cool.
I think for maybe like legal reasons they'd have to.
Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah, just to differentiate
they're
itself
only allowed to
from.
use the assets that they were given. Everything else
Yeah.
has to be unique, create their own creation.
Yeah.
Um. So But I'll just to be. Uh. I forget what the saying is, but just to say, let's just say you guys disagreed with me, for example. Uh.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah, just to be her devil's advocate, she still has her root and she still does have her AoE, and her alt is the same. So, in that sense, would you argue that maybe she is still a utility mage?
Um,
Or let's put it another way. Do you think adding the the ability to her AoE that she gains more mana, do you think that makes up for the ability of missing mana? Do you think
I
adding
definitely
more
feel like
mana?
again that's sort of the whole balance thing again. Instead of like debuffing somebody by taking stuff away, like
It's
again
like
that's sort of the approach you take is by adding things. If
it's
you are
like
going to
yeah.
rework it, you need to not just take things away, but actually add something
Yeah.
of substantial value.
And I believe I really do believe strange matter. You know what? Having the ability of taking away mana from enemy heroes might be really garbage, as it just makes it so heroes can't use their abilities, right? It might truly make it less fun. Okay, I can see where they're going with that. I think it's still a unique idea, but I believe in them on that one. They take Okay, fine, you took it away. I'm good with that. I can live with that. I'll be okay. My nostalgia kind of took a punch, but I'll be okay.
Yeah.
But
Um,
you still have to make the choice to run into the field that the robot's in, correct?
yeah,
In order to lose your mana. So I mean, like, it's just another
Well, I mean,
consequence to your action.
and it
and the
wasn't like
whole
it was
point was like
difficult to
locking
kill
down
either.
areas. Yeah, like that was like lane control and stuff.
Yeah, in a
Yeah,
one
it's if
on
you wanted to stop somebody from pushing at you, you go, well, I'm going to take
Be
some of your
like push
mana if you want
forward,
to chase me.
and they'll be like, fine, I don't need my mana, and then you'd be like, all right, and they'll just ult you. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It was the idea of like, like quarantine area, like a police officer holding down an area. Like if you move forward, like you'll use the
And
force
again, I
against
guess
the
if you
law.
only make it last 4 seconds anyways, why does it matter what it does?
Yeah.
yeah,
Chances are you're not going to hit them in that 4 seconds. Unless, again, they're chasing you and you're only using it to slow them down or prevent them to doing, like, any type of stun ability while they're chasing you.
yeah. So,
And I guess you could use it in a team fight, like if you throw it in the middle of a team fight when everyone's popping off.
Yeah.
but on the other hand, if you were a crunch, Steve, or whoever, how shitty would it feel when you know you couldn't get off that one extra ability because Bellica took your mana away?
Well, I mean, it was kind of the whole
I
thing.
was going
Like
to
it
say, that's
was
the reality of playing Crunch.
that's the reality. Like, but you got to keep in mind, Bellica was like the only person that you had to worry about. Like she was really one of the only hard counters
Yeah,
to Crunch. Like in terms of like Crunch's abilities, there was never anyone like people just dealing more damage than Crunch isn't a hard counter in my opinion. A hard counter takes the essence of the character and makes that their weakness because you're fighting a certain character. You know what I mean?
hmm, I
And
understand.
so like I feel like now it's just like okay, now just another character to outdamage Crunch. Great. Like okay. I don't know, that's just how I feel.
Yeah. Uh, and I think I've already mentioned this, but I do not believe that giving her the ability to gain more mana is sufficient enough as taking away mana.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
giving her mana doesn't mean she has better utility.
No.
Mhm.
Wow, she has better mana regen. Whoop de doo. That doesn't give her more utility.
Because the whole thing, you put down the drone and then you knock them up, and so that they're in the drone area a little bit longer. Like you put the bomb behind them, and they're not going to go to that because they don't want to take the damage. All the mana's gone, and then you ult them. Like you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like and then
yeah.
poof,
And
everything's
it also
synergized
gave
up.
her that real cool synergy with her kit, right?
Yeah.
And now it feels like her alt shouldn't be a part of her kit. Uh, it should be a part of whatever character. Even
Well,
though it's still a good ability, it just feels like it's not unique to her now. Um, and she lost a bit of her utility, but she didn't make it up in range, damage, or anything like that. She just
yeah.
um, she just kind of lost it. So we're all in agreement that her passive and her command drone have to work at the same time and not counteract each other, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so at least we got that down. That was kind of the main point. I'm glad we got that. And we're all in agreement that all that was done was uh, they just worsened her utility, which is fine, but there needs to be something to make up for it, and it can't just be damage, or we're just getting back into the idea of, Why did you choose Bellica this game? Well, she's my favorite character. I'm one game away from my mastery with her. Not, why do you choose Belka? Oh, because she has utility. She's a really good counter to Crunch,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that, Gideon was going to be a big pick, and I knew that he was going to be popping off a lot. So I figured, okay, well, or Howitzer, I figure if I can just control the lane a bit more, lock down the area, because I know I can't win in the fight,
Yeah.
then,
But, yeah. So, I guess that's it on that.
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Okay, and I got two more things on the list.
Hell
Two more
yeah.
things. So the
Do
next thing I
you
want to talk about is the Rift Herald. So this is kind of back to the jungle. Actually, now that I said this, I thought of a third thing. Uh, so
Yo,
in League of
Greg,
Legends, yes, kind sir.
uh I don't know if you guys would be, I don't know what your mindset is right now. But I was thinking about going to bed. So just cuz I have to wake up early in the morning and complete an assignment before an online class.
Oh, okay.
And it's 12:30 here now. Um so I didn't know if you guys wanted to keep talking or if you wanted to save the topics for maybe some other time this week. We can stream again and talk about them then.
I'm down for either. I'm good. It is 1 a.m. Didn't realize the time. What about
If
you, TJ?
It really doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. So
yeah, I
we got
mean,
it.
Again, I still have my own handful of topics I want to talk about at some point. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's definitely no
We got through like
lacking
what?
of it. I mean, you can definitely probably put it on the screen just so everyone can see, just like that little Discord you're going to start trying to put together.
Yes.
Just anyone
Uh,
who's watching, just so they
I
know
put
that,
it in
like,
my.
we are.
I did put it in my Twitch channel. I think it's a bit early, so I don't know if I want to advertise it yet.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
Because I wanna. How did I word this? No one. I'm just a random schmuck in the community for the most part,
Yeah.
and I wanna try to solidify myself and you guys
But I guess that's
as
kind of
like
like,
as like a leading voice. I guess is a good way to put it.
yeah,
And we
well, you
can't
kind of
really
do
do
that
that.
by creating it. As soon as you have that Discord and you have talking,
Mm.
that it's just a community off stream as well. It isn't just opinion here. I mean, we've had a couple people. I've been looking at the stream. There's a couple people who have genuinely been like tuned in for a while and listening
Yes.
to our opinions. So I mean, you're less likely to comment on a random person's stream as you are to have an opinion in a Discord
Hmm.
and just kind of have an open conversation about something.
Okay. Well, in that case, we'll
I'm
start
just
off.
thinking, just if anyone right now listening that like wants to talk about these kind of things and any desires, or even if they have opinions of things they want
Exactly.
us to talk about next time we
Yeah,
get on stream.
drop it in the chat,
S-
and we'll
Link link to the
be part.
Discord.
Yeah. So we started our own Discord. It only became a thing today. Uh, we're calling it the Faultarians. So we're gonna try to call ourselves the Faultarians, kind of like how when you live in Nova Scotia, you're called Nova Scotians. So we're the Faultarians.
Hell yeah.
So that's what we're calling it. And what it's going to be is about it's going to be more so about discussion based. And once the early access rolls around, it's going to be about hero kits, buffs, suggestions, team comps, finding people to play with, what you should do, uh, what you need to worry about as a mid laner, top laner, so on and so forth. And we're going to keep going through that, and it's going to evolve uh,
Yeah.
as time goes on. So
Yeah, maybe.
I guess we're gonna end it here. We're just gonna say our goodbyes, our thank yous, and I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. If you guys have any comments or anything, please put in the chat. If you enjoyed this, we at this rate we plan on redoing it again. This is our first one, uh, so please leave a follow. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Strange Matter, of course. I got to give a huge shout out to Strange Matter
Shout
as
out Strange Manner.
at Strange Matter Studios on Twitter. They're super fantastic. Uh, I just thought of a fourth thing. there's something I didn't write down, but I wrote it down in the Twitter message I sent Chandler earlier.
Yeah.
Um, I would
Follow
really
Stephen Reed at SA Reed on Twitter.
awesome. Follow Stephen Reed at SA Twitter.
Hey, look at that.
Eventually, Steve and
You got to
Chandler, if
follow
you
there,
guys
bud.
Oh, Artistic Unleashed. Fuck yeah, bro. Welcome to the Moose
Artistic
Country.
Unleashed. Thank you for the follow, Artistic. I'm glad you've been enjoying the stream. Uh,
Fuck yeah, poggers, bro.
so we're gonna keep doing this. Uh, hope you enjoyed it. And Chandler, I'll pass on to you.
What are you passing on to me?
Just
your
say goodbye,
goodbyes.
dumb shit.
No, there. You cannot say goodbye. I do not believe in goodbyes. Just,
Okay, say goodnight.
I will
Chandler
see
doesn't
you
believe in
later.
goodbyes, but he believes in I'll see you next time.
Well, exactly.
Follow,
We
follow
want everyone to tune back in. Like,
Chandler.
we want people to talk about this. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
nobody. I think that was the other thing that was so great about Paragon was people talking about a game that they were passionate about. Like, it's such a niche thing that like you're not just going to randomly find people typically on the internet that like are actually going to be passionate about the same little crack in the whole game that you are.
You can
Yes.
follow Chandler at Chan the Man.
At Chan Chan the Man on Instagram.
You'll see a lot of car shit.
And I'm just gonna pull this up on the stream. I don't, for anyone that hasn't seen it, this is Strange Matter Studios. I got permission to use it, so I'm gonna say that before anyone shoots me in the head. I just wanted to show the wallpaper that they sent me for the new Chimera skin.
The Moose.
Oh,
So I
you
got
got
it
the
up.
folder, bro.
Yeah, so I got it up on the screen there. You can see it's called Bone Collector Chimera, and it's the first
Nice.
original skin the Fault has done so far, and I think it's pretty awesome.
Well,
Um,
that's
Yeah.
100% going to be what like the game needs is just again like something that
yes,
Help
other
legitimize it.
games do where it's just like skins are just like reworked color palettes. Like nobody wants that. Like you need to actually have a skin that like that's again for an example somebody like Grux that was so nice is that like you put on a different skin you thought you were playing a different character.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
just cool how in depth you could go just from a
I'm
skin.
gonna be honest. I saw this skin like so in the tester stream. I actually saw someone use the Bone Collector stream, the Bone Collector skin on Chimera. It looks fantastic. I really like. You know how Epic was so good at making skins, and like
Mm.
that's basically why Fortnite's successful.
Fuck
Their
Fortnite.
Strange Matter may be doing a better job than Epic did, and they have like two people. They have JQV and Balix. And Balix was a Paragon person too. He used to do that. He's been doing that for a while. JQV is a new person. He's pretty awesome though.
I mean, the biggest thing that's going to really set this game apart from, like, let's say, an example, Paragon, like, just skins wise, like, because again, the engine speaks for itself. Like, you can make all the skins look beautiful.
Hmm.
I personally really want to see reactive skins. So,
Yes.
let's say, like, something like Sevarog, the more kills you get, it
Ooh,
changes.
like a tier 3 skin kind of thing. That's
Yeah,
what I
so if
call it.
all of a sudden,
Yes.
like, come end game when you're fully kitted, like, you feel balling. Not only are you hitting hard, but, like, you also just look like you're ready for the apocalypse.
Awesome. What we plan on doing, guys, if this keeps continuing, which it looks like it is, we all talk to each other all the time, anyways, because we are best friends. So, something tells me it's going to continue. I have a webcam ordered, but because of COVID-19, Amazon's going to ship it out eventually. It's on its way, but we don't know when that is. Could be a year from now. So what we're going to try to do is try to move it to maybe Skype, or we're going to do something where people can see our faces.
Mm-hmm.
If Steve and Chandler are okay with that, of course. I'm definitely going to show my
Yes.
face.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, for sure.
uh,
I love my face. I don't
maybe
think
we'll
anyone else
showcase
will,
some
but
of
fuck it.
Steven's music because Steven does create his own local music.
Spotify SA Reed ESSAYREAD
All right.
SA Reed.
So yeah. Okay. And Steve, you're last to say your. I don't want to say goodbye because Chandler said not to.
Eat ass. At least once.
Oh.
And let's leave it at that.
Alright.
Just had to go there.
Okay. If I wanted this to be a PG stream, well, it just got thrown out the window right there.
Fuck
Come on,
PG.
man. We're going to
Fuck
swear.
kids, man.
Thank you for everyone that tuned into the stream. We're at almost 3 hours in. I'm probably going to
Jesus
stream a bit
Christ.
later for myself. I'm probably going to play a bit of Final Fantasy while I do this. And we're going to come back to you within at a date to be announced. And we're going to do this again. Thank you for tuning in,
I'd
everyone.
say probably at least Friday, would you say?
Jesus, he's making me write down a date. Alrighty. Friday.
At least Friday, come on.
Steven?
Gotta be on a night that I gotta wake up at 5 a.m. the morning after.
Okay, why? Jesus Christ, man.
Okay,
Thursday.
Steve, I'm going to put it to you this way. Would you really be going to bed earlier than this?
If I wake up when I wake up at 5 a.m., I go to bed at 10:30.
I remember you used to be the person that like I used to have to like I personally bought like a sledgehammer to punch Steven in the face with because he wouldn't wake up if he didn't get enough sleep.
It's a problem, dude. My body has a quota. And I, after 22 years, have learned that quota.
Yeah. Anywho, thank you everyone for tuning in. I love doing this kind of stuff. We're huge Fault people. We all came from consoles, so we're kind of console. I played console since I was 9 years old or 6 years old or something. I remember playing this Nintendo, my dad's Nintendo, when I was 6. We're very new to PC. I don't even think. I think the only one here that really has one, but they'll get one eventually.
I mean, technically, I used to play Paragon on my laptop, but I
Yes.
just don't know how that's going to work out with Fault.
On
Yes.
potato settings. Like,
So,
Yeah,
playing.
minimum settings is what I had it on.
It wasn't even minimum setting. It's
Anywho,
just flash
thank
game.
you for tuning in.
Thank you.
I love you guys. And I love you too. Let's make this community flourish. We gotta get
Hell
we
yeah.
gotta get Strange Matter. My goal is to get this to console and to get Strange Matter a job as a developer. That's it.
Hell yeah.
If I can do that, I will make it happen. I'll
As
give
long
you
as you have
hundreds of
bring Team
dollars. Like, I
Chat in,
can't
I
give
don't
you
give a
so
shit.
much, but I'll make it happen. Anywho, that's all I want to say. I'm ending it now.
Hell yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.